picture-perfect fall day for college football. Temperatures in the low 70s and an almost cloudless sky as the 20th ranked UCF Knights with a mark of 5-0 take on the Naval Academy with a mark of 5-1. The signal, mooring, will approach the football, and UCF and Navy is underway. Hughes will come up a short kick at the 11. He's across the 15, looks to get outside. He will turn the corner, 20, 25. He's to the 30. He's across the 33-yard line. They'll empty the backfield now. Back to throw. Milton looks. He steps up. He throws his pass. Caught Snelson. First down 45 to the 40. Inside the 35. Holds on to the football. Dragging defenders to the 32-yard line. Still moving forward. They haven't whistled it down yet. They finally do at the 31. And Milton, play fake, rolls out right. Still rolling out. Looking, throws. Pass. Caught. Touchdown. Traquan Smith. And the Knights march down the field opening drive. His 8th TD of the season. Knights on top 6-0.
Welcome to Annapolis, Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium. 20th ranked UCF got the ball to begin the game and crisply went down the field in 3 minutes and 12 seconds. Got a score on a 6-yard pass from Mackenzie Milton to Traquan Smith. Now Navy on its first possession, 2nd and 10. Inside run yields nothing for Anthony Margiulo. Tony Garrod swings him down as we take a look at the scoring drive for UCF.
A little bit of everything. Had some runs, had a nice long pass, had Mackenzie Milton running the ball, and on the big deciding play, he rolls right. Smith drags across the defensive formation for an easy touchdown.
So Mackenzie Milton picking up another TD, 16 against 2 picks. While Navy doesn't have a yard yet on back-to-back runs. They're without Chris Hyde today. Josh Walker's been out with a knee issue. They hope to have him back 2 weeks from now against Temple. Chris Hyde, they hope the same with a concussion. Abey needing 10 will fall short. Pat Jasinski, the top tackler for UCF, stumbles him at the 41. So the Navy punt unit is out, and this is an appearance that you think reigns paramount in the game.
It really is. If UCF can make Navy punt 2 times a half, that means it puts them way behind the sticks scores-wise. You do that in the first half, they're going to lead by 10 to 14 points.
Mike Hughes, the outstanding return man, 66-yard touchdown last week against ECU, the first for UCF since 2007. Has a long kick return already in this game. They'll kick this one intentionally away from him into the sidelines. They bury it.
It's going to be outside of the 30-yard line.
A big one in the American. Navy facing UCF. 2 of the 8 teams unblemished in the country rest in the American. USF, UCF, they'll battle on Thanksgiving. Well, Navy does not have the tiebreak, lost head-to-head with Memphis. John Sadak, the College Football Hall of Famer, Randy Cross, she instead with Birch on the sidelines. This is a game with massive implications for the conference.
It really is, and remember that New Year's Day bowl bid for the group of 5 is still in play with these teams and Memphis and a few others in the American. You look at these 2, though, the keys to the game, I think, are pretty simple. For UCF, you force 2 punts per half. That means you have a chance to put extra points on the board if you're Scott Frost's team. And for Navy, do what you didn't do last week. You can't have any turnovers, and you've got to really limit your penalties. It used to be what this Navy team did every single game.
And what a burst as soon as we're right back to action, nearly to midfield. Dart the Knights of UCF. Taj McGowan stumbles a path nearly to the logo. Time now for the Chick-fil-A starting lineups. Mackenzie Milton at quarterback, 4th in the FBS in completion percentage. He's 2nd in passing efficiency. Put it on the ground again. What a giant get from McGowan. Huge chunk plays for the Knights at the game start.
Watch this offensive line up front. Balanced stances, and they love to maintain surface on blockers. That's what happened there. No one really got blown out, but as a running back, it's a great thing.
Otis Anderson into the backfield, swinging out into the right flat. Snelson hops out of bounds as we take a look at the defensive starters, or excuse me, the rest of the offense for UCF. Tight end Jordan Akins.
He's a former wide receiver who can block and just tortures defenses with matchups. You try to put him on a linebacker, you are tough.
Here they stretch it out. Otis Anderson, stiff arm. drives down inside of the 4. Sean Williams barreled out of play after a gain of 9. Defensive starters for the Navy midshipmen. Justin Norton gets the start. Jerry Thompson out today at striker.
If you're going to rush this quarterback, as you've already seen, you better get there quick. Great example. How about that sidearm sling?
On 2nd and 1. Anderson shouldered right near the line of scrimmage. Jackson Pittman, Jarvis Polu combined. Ball came loose. Was forward progress stopped first. Navy says it hasn't, but whistles Blair. Elijah Merchant came up with the football, but it seemed like the whistles might have come, blowing the play dead.
Good job of stopping that run right at the line of scrimmage. I tell you, that whistle was after that ball was ripped out of there.
Now the call on the field is that forward progress was stopped first. UCF hustles, trying to snap the football. Navy's already called a timeout, but it tried to avoid a delayed game penalty. Bad snap. Milton forced to improvise. Runs out of a tackle and gets a few, weaving a path to the 3-yard line. Jordan Johnson converted from guard to center this year in that outstanding front in the offensive line for UCF.
It can happen to the best of them, especially, you know, it is 71, 72 degrees, pretty warm in the sun, and they've got a pretty good lather going on that offensive line. That ball gets a little wet and hard to snap.
4th down and 1. The run by McGowan. Does he have it? He's turned aside, but does he have the first? Win Howard popped him.
I think he's short of the 2-yard line.
Each team is pointing that it believes it has it, but the call looks like he is short, and Navy's got the football in the shadows of its goalposts.
Ball's being spotted at the 3-yard line. What do? You stand up a good offensive line, and then the linebackers drop those shoulder pads.
Class of 2002 honored here on homecoming as we take a look at the offensive starters for the Navy midshipmen. And up front, right guard Evan Martin got some mind-blowing news this week.
Mid-season All-American. He said he first got the link from his mom. He looked at it. He thought it was just from American Conference until he noticed some of the other names like Saquon Barkley and the rest of them. Said, oh, wait a minute, those are some good ball players.
He said he was very humbled by the experience. Zach Abey and company, their 7th play of the game. They've already got 4 go for a yard or less, and he gets popped again by Pat Jasinski, who is the stalwart for UCF defensively, and he has had Abey's number early.
Yeah, follow Pat Jasinski. If you're looking at this play, every time the ball snapped, watch 56. He will take you straight to the quarterback.
Abey did pick up 5 yards, but what will the cumulative effect be of this kind of wear and tear? There have been some violent collisions.
Already some substitutions up front. We expected that. They go 9 deep in the D-line.
Abey gets a big block, and he gets the first down. Stumbled by Shaquan Burkett, and Shaquem Griffin earns the 18-yard line. GMC, proud supporter of Armed Forces football. Navy down 7-zip. The game has been so slanted for UCF at the outset, Randy, yet it's only 7-0.
Yeah, well, you can take that stop on 4th down. That negates one of the punts they made Navy do. Getting that stop and getting no points out of that possession. Great job by Ken Niumatalolo's football team, but his offense has got to stay on the field and give that defense a blow.
Nelson Smith getting his first carry. First effort not there. Second win, Joey Connors part of the pile. That slathers him at around the 22, a gain of about 3. Final minute of this first quarter. Ken Niumatalolo winning as head coach in Navy lore. Looking for another win against a ranked team. It would be his 5th, snapping a tie for 2nd in Navy history with the Hall of Famer George Welsh. Yeah. And it would mean 3 straight years Navy beating a ranked team. That hasn't happened since Navy was dominant in top 5 in the early to mid 1940s.
I think Ken Niumatalolo is looking at a Hall of Fame career, personally. He's already got some of the criteria down, and all this guy does is win.
Option pitch. Man, furious hits and a flag down after Darryl Bonner got popped on the edge.
It's going to be a hold on the outside, maybe Craig
Holding.
Scott.
Offense, number 72, 10-yard penalty, 2nd down.
I would assume they mean 82, Craig Scott.
On the very outside, right there on Jasinski. That was a whole handful of jersey. Kind of got your money's worth if you're Ford Higgins, the offensive tackle.
We were told that Ford Higgins would start for Jake Hawk for undisclosed reasons at left tackle today, but he would only be in there for the first 4 plays of the game. And with that, we are through the first quarter. A 7-0 advantage for Scott Frost's UCF unit. You're watching college football on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports Homecoming in Annapolis. And the second quarter on the other side. UCF up a score on Navy. Navy has been outdone in time of possession so far. Outdone in first down, 7-1. Time of possession owned by UCF. Navy entered today. Randy Cross tops in America over 36 minutes of possession per game.
Well, they've done a nice job, has UCF, of mixing things up. Little run, little pass, little gimmick plays. They've done pretty much a little bit of everything to keep Navy off balance, but well played by Navy, stopping them on the 3 on this last possession.
And the fullback dive. Gargiulo. Tony Garrod trips him up after he gets a couple.
But this is what you don't have, and when you don't especially have Chris High. You know, Joshua Walker was a blow, but High, having him out, coming from that fullback, A-back position, is a great first option in this offense behind that offensive line.
He's one of the most vocal midshipmen. There he is on the sidelines, ball cap on in uni.
Not lacking for personality.
No, sir. He has been a tremendous young man to engage with. It was 3rd and 5. They just got their first third down conversion. Abey stretching it out. Sana keeps his feet and falls forward for the first.
Nice adjustment so far by the Navy coaches. We talk about adjustments all the time when it comes to this offense. They found a way to get Jasinski, that inside linebacker. On the last play, they brought Bonner in from that B-back position, brought him inside, and he blocked on Jasinski and knocked him off. That's why Zach Abey was able to get that far without getting smacked.
Abey's had more room, picked up 7 on that play. And it looks like the tent has resurfaced for UCF, shielding our prying eyes from Mackenzie Milton, quarterback getting some treatment. Mike Martin playing in his first game as a midshipman, hurdles to the 35. Joey Connors stumbles him there a couple of yards. There is Eric Shenander, an offensive lineman during his days as a walk-on at Iowa. Coached only offensive football, including at FCS Northern Iowa. Coached the tight ends 04 to 09. Chip Kelly said, I want you at Oregon, but I need you to coach defense. He was somewhat reluctant, but he said he fell in love with it within a few weeks. He's been a defensive man ever since.
That's the best thing that ever happened to him. He just loves it. These kids really respond to him, too.
2nd down and 8. Abey looking to throw for the first time. Floats, tip ball. Falls down, innocently incomplete. Active hands from UCF. Shaquan Burkett able to bat that one away from Abey.
Good job. I think it was Garrod that gets that ball and knocks it down. That was something. I mean, that really was fun to see. Connors got up there, knocked it down. The screen was set up pretty well. Nice play call upstairs by Ivan Jasper.
And we haven't seen a ton of Tyler Carmona, who's their best downfield threat. He's been battling some injury. He's in now. He's on the near left side. Abey again looking to throw. Deep for Carmona. One-on-one. Carmona catch. First down.
You ask, you shall receive. You know, John, that was a tackle over. The offensive line was shifted to the right. Carmona lined up on the left side as a tight end next to the offensive guard and runs that pattern right straight down the field. Good concept again. Nice job by this whole offensive staff on that play.
Got 40 yards on that catch. That's about what he's been averaging to lead the FBS this year.
Usual option formation here.
Abey keeps. Zach Abey, the spirited will. Mike Hughes spins him around after he picks up 13.
Look inside, catch a linebacker. Can he scrape and get the quarterback? Not likely. Watch this. You're bringing in those B-backs. Again, it's Bonner. Nice job by Bonner. Once to the left, once to the right, picking off the linebacker.
And he had Malcolm Perry just behind him for the pitch. We haven't seen Perry used a ton yet. He has become a favored offensive puzzle piece for Ivan Jasper.
Hey, he's kind of the Swiss Army knife in this offense. They'll do the different things. That's why I like the shotgun so much. It opens up other possibilities.
Maybe another keeper, shredding tackles, pounds a pass to the 6. Pat Jasinski meets him there, another 7 yards. The Navy offense picking up some steam.
Yeah, well, you've seen that adjustment with the B-back coming in and blocking the linebacker, bringing people in motion, fullbacks in motion, and leading with them on the outside. How does Shenander and this defensive staff, how do they answer? How do they get these inside backers back into the game defensively?
Kenny Montalolo flexing his muscles. And a glance to the sideline for Abey and company. It's a loaded front for UCF defensively. Perry in motion. Abey. Follow the fullback into the end zone. Touchdown. Anthony Gargiulo springs him free. And Zach Abey thunders his 13th touchdown on the ground.
Man, that was great execution on that drive by the Navy offense. They made their adjustment. They altered the blocking. They had a little tackle over. They had some different things on the offensive side. But the bottom line was Ivan Jasper and company found a way to get those linebackers off Zach Abey, and that's been a huge difference.
The point after a 92-yard drive. Bennett Mooring connects.
The kick is good.
You know, it all started with that big play to Carmona down the field, lined up at like a tight end position, and it leads to Zach Abey, the tool, the weapon in this offense today.
Let's take a look at Navy's payoff to its longest drive of the year.
The two tools you have to take away, those two inside linebackers. Look at the job they do not only with Gargiulo, but also with Bonner, eliminating those two defensive players. Bonner hunts up the first one, Gargiulo hunts up one, and then Jasinski coming from the backside gets just a shoulder from Abey, and he can't stop him once he gets that much steam.
The resilience of Abey, who certainly was tested with the turnover fest against Memphis and was physically popped many a time, mostly by Pat Jasinski at the game start.
Oh, yeah.
And he continues to just drive the hammer into the nail.
Weird feel of the game. We're at 7-7. It feels like 14-7, 21-7 UCF.
Mike Hughes, electric return man from his 7th. Began his career in North Carolina, and the former Tar Heel bursts into Navy territory. Finally tackled inside of the 40 by Alon Nash. He'll mark him at about the 35-yard line.
Well, we saw it on the first kickoff, John. Just some bad angles and missed tackles. And Hughes is just flat out a really good returner. He's got those shifty hips where he can move his body out of the way and still be going forward. Great field position for this offense right here, though.
And Navy is 8th in the country in kick return coverage. Opponents only average 16 yards per return. But he had that punt return touchdown against ECU last week. Had a couple of big kick returns today. Play fake Milton with the bum wheel. And he's down as we check in with Sheehan Stanwyck Birch.
Well, guys, the good news for UCF is Milton is back. When he limped over to the field, he went under the medical tent. After a few minutes, came out, was on the bike for a few minutes, working his leg out, stretching it, not overly stretching it, just kicking it out, shaking a little bit loose. When Navy extended that offensive possession, he went back in the tent, but then came out with his helmet on, and he's ready to go.
Well, thank you, Sheehan. We've seen him continue to massage the rear of that right leg. A flick to Gabriel Davis. Scott Frost, whose team has the best scoring margin in America, is on the radar of a lot of power conference teams.
Yep. And we said he's not worried about penalties, but his offense has stopped themselves a few times with penalties today.
3rd and 7 from the gun. Milton wide open. That's something that resonates as Gabriel Davis gets taken down by Justin Norton. They pick up 10. So many receivers that make catches for the Knights do so wide open.
Well, look at the window he's throwing through. You see that big empty area in the middle? The offensive line wraps the rush around him. He's got nothing but a clear view in front. Just hitting a regular crossing pattern.
Killens motioned into the flat. Navy sniffed that one out. Second hit from Brandon Jones swallowed him up at about the 15, a gain of a couple.
Watch the throwing motion. I refer to it as a catcher's type throw. Watch Milton throw this ball from the pocket and how quick this action is. See that? I mean, that's just like, you know, you'll be watching the World Series starting next week. It's a catcher from one of those teams just coming out of his stance and flicking that thing either back to the rubber or back to second base.
Killens into the backfield. Oh, he's got some space. Makes that one elusive move and carries Sean Williams into the end zone. A 15-yard touchdown for the home run threat, Adrian Killens.
Well, a couple plays like that, and that's why Scott Frost isn't real worried about penalties. Because they have the talent and the kind of skill players that can overcome them, even stopping themselves sometimes. That was about that offensive line just covering up the front seven. And by the time Killens gets to the defensive backs, that's not fair.
Point after from Matthew Wright. He's only missed one all year. And he converts. 14 points on the board for UCF. They are the best scoring offense in the country, over 50 points per game. And their second TD today has the Knights up 7. Mackenzie Milton getting loose on the bike. Seminoles did stumble to Louisville. Tried to roar late. A couple of touchdowns in the fourth quarter, but dropped it 31-28. Now the kick to Navy. A touchback. Oh, they bit on the fullback fake, and Abey nearly has midfield. Burkett bear hugs him after 14. Golden Corral, proud supporter of Armed Forces football. And here's Navy playing with some pace. 2 minutes and change, 2 timeouts.
Boy, did they bite on Gargiulo there at the fullback. And Abey just followed his fullback right in the middle.
Perry in motion. They give it to him on the toss. Perry weaves through a couple of would-be tacklers, earns 5 yards. It feels like, oddly enough, Randy, with the 2 primary fullbacks out today due to injury, it might be the best involvement of the fullback by Abey all season.
Yeah, I think so far you're right. I believe that adjustment, though, to account for the inside linebackers. The defensive line's excellent. The linebackers make the plays.
Abey. Oh, what a violent hit. There you go. It looks like there'll be a timeout called by Navy here to freeze the clock.
Speaking of one of those linebackers, Jasinski usually, but Burkett on that one. Great play.
Kenny Montalolo and company talk it over. Big third down coming up for Navy. It was 0 for 3 on third down to begin the game. Zach Abey and company have converted 3 straight since as they battle Shaquem Griffin, the reigning defensive player of the year in the American. And Zach Abey has the first. Jamias Pittman, defensive end, launched out of his back. Gargiulo helped to spring him free again.
And Shaquem Griffin makes that play from the backside. But they're accounting onside not only for the line, they're taking the linebackers out.
Again, a total bite on the fake to Gargiulo, and Pat Jasinski able to lasso down Zach Abey at around the 29-yard line.
I tell you, Bonner, he's doing yeoman's duty today. He's getting in there and he's bloodying his face mask, banging it on linebackers and doing a heck of a job.
Abey, nothing. The pressure from Tony Garrod. You mentioned the outstanding defensive line. Man, they're good.
Look at this defensive line suddenly just penetrate. You know, you're trying to double team, and the first guy misses. Makes for a pretty bad double team.
Timeout called by Navy, so no timeouts left. With that run, Zach Abey has 100 yards. That means 8 consecutive games with 100 yards rushing. That is a new standalone Navy program record. Mike Martin enters. They go with a loaded house.
There's that shotgun.
Abey looking to launch. The heave. Triple coverage, tipped, intercepted. Knights football. Kyle Gibson. And he slides down at around the 13. Brandon Moore helped tip it loose as it was launched to Craig Scott. And UCF gets the INT, just the Knights' third of the year.
Well, good setup for this play, but that ball came out of Zach Abey's hand kind of funny. It was sort of a weather balloon floating out there and got knocked up into the air. That's exactly what a defensive player should do. If you can't knock it down, knock it up and let that other defender get at it.
Brandon Moore, the freshman, who's often picked on. They throw away from Mike Hughes.
55 yards to any kind of field goal opportunity.
In the flat line, suspense. Otis Anderson. He breaks midfield.
Now you're looking at 10 or 15 yards to field goal opportunity.
And with UCF, 2 timeouts, 20 seconds.
Plenty of time to score.
Yeah.
The way this offense eats up yards.
Milton floats it out. Tipped incomplete. Off the hands of Gabriel Davis. Elijah Merchant in coverage.
Look at that last pass. That thing is tipped by Palmore, but it still gets to the back. And again, now the ball's batted off the hands. Nice job by Merchant.
41-yard pass.
Got to get up to the 35 for a realistic shot.
Play fake. Milton zips it, tipped, nearly intercepted. Brandon Jones got a hand on it. Merchant nearly had it for Navy.
Yeah, 6 seconds again. Good job by Jones getting those hands up, because that might be a completion. Falling away.
Traquan Smith, UCF's top receiver. Milton goes to his tight end. Akins dances out of bounds with 1 second.
That's in range. That's about a 47-yarder from there. 47, 48 yards.
So Matthew Wright will jog on after Akins picks up the big grab and wisely darts out of play. And Wright 5 of 6 on field goals this year. Preseason on the Groza watch list. He's the most accurate kicker in UCF history in terms of percentage of makes. From 45 yards out. The wrong stuff for Matthew Wright as he misses wide, and it's a 1-score game at halftime.
That is huge for this Navy defense. They've had a couple possessions where UCF should have put points on the board, and they didn't let them there. 14-7. You'll have to take that going in at halftime, find a way to adjust.
Knuckles wide. His second miss of the year. He makes almost 80% of his field goals career. His only other miss came in the opener. That's the end of the first half. 14-7 to UCF. After the break, we go back to our CBS Sports Network studio. The Ram Trucks halftime report with Brent Christian. Welcome back to Annapolis. Second half about to get underway. UCF a 14-7 advantage on Navy. John Sadak, the College Football Hall of Famer, Randy Cross. Randy, what are your thoughts on this game so far? We break down the stats from the first, brought to you by Humana.
Well, starters, I think Navy's very lucky it's only a 7-point game. I think UCF made some penalties. They kind of stopped themselves on occasion. Navy stopped them once on the 3. But 14-7 is very manageable for Navy. I think for UCF, stop making those mistakes, because when you started this game, Milton and company, they were jamming on all cylinders. They had it going on. Then he pulled up with that little bit of a hamstring cramp. Zach Abey was able to score. And Killens returned the favor.
Killens known for his big play threat. Mackenzie Milton on the bike again. He was on that bike many times during the course of the first, and that's certainly a concern for Scott Frost. Ken Niumatalolo, he knows that his team has the ball to begin the second. They won the toss, elected to defer.
They get the ball, and they better dang well hold on to it for a while by Ken Niumatalolo's tastes. They need their offense to stay on the field.
Malcolm Perry takes a pop. He's down to the 15 as we check in with Sheehan Stanley Birch, who caught up with each head coach.
Thanks, John. Well, UCF coach Scott Frost said they were moving the ball fine on offense, but they had to take more advantage of those and score a lot more points. He was frustrated also with the number of penalties they had. Coach Niumatalolo for Navy also frustrated with the costly penalties on his side, but said they're in this game, and it's a huge opening drive for them.
Zach Abey and company back out onto the field. The run game was silenced early. 4 of the first 6 Navy plays went for 1 yard or less. Then Abey started to shoot the seams. Pat Jasinski, though, able to corral him after 5 yards. Gargiulo led the path.
Hey, but that's a difference. You see early on those first few possessions, Jasinski and the linebackers, they were meeting these plays at the line of scrimmage or in the backfield. They were smothering the run. Since they adjusted and put specifically Bonner on the near side inside linebacker, he's done an amazing job of freeing up Zach Abey, that second option in the option.
Won 17 straight regular season home games. Program record, tops in the country. Gargiulo shouldered. He gets hit by Shaquan Burkett to pick up 3. It does look like Michael Rayford getting some reps. Ford Higgins at the tackle spot as an extra body in there. They've lined up a tight end some.
Hey, not a big guy. Higgins is listed at 6'2", 250 by major college standards. That's a small tight end.
He's in the middle, number 72. He's shaded by the wide receiver, Brandon Cologne. 3rd and 2. Navy missed on its first 3 third-down tries. More effective since. And Abey invites the harm and gets swung down by Pat Jasinski.
They got the first, but not by much.
Couple of yards there. That will move the chains.
Yeah, it was a heavy left. You know, with Higgins at tight end left. Receiver lined up, covering him up as a strength left formation. Wasn't real fancy. Jasinski and company knew that ball was going to be run to that left side. They just couldn't stop it.
And Jasinski, more than just their top tackler and the man who's had Abey's number the most today, he also makes all the calls. He sets the front for this UCF defense. Oh, good sell, but Pittman didn't buy it. Jamias Pittman quickly wraps up Abey.
There's Pittman. He says, that's me. He lined up as a defensive end, and he spied into the fullback's belly and then adjusted to the quarterback. Now that's one big athlete and a very athletic move by the UCF defensive end. Of course, he is one of the few receivers in the country that's caught a touchdown every time he's caught a ball.
That's true. Got one last week, his first touchdown at any level of football. He told us he had a pick on a screen in high school, got all the way back to the 3. Abey, his 4th pass of the game. Wide open Perry, the twist and grab, and Perry a burner. Malcolm Perry to the house. 75 yards and a chance to tie the game.
Give credit to Ivan Jasper upstairs and his offensive staff. They've given him some tackle over. They put the B back, that slot back straight up the field. And how often do you see this out of this option offense, no matter who's running it, where that slot back ends up being the guy, the best receiver down the field.
Perry, the former quarterback who was once plucked out of the stands to be the QB, on the receiving end of the long strike. Mooring to tie it. Right down the heart.
And John, don't forget, you get a wide open receiver and you're a quarterback. That's kind of a hard pass to throw. Zach Abey right on the money, and then Perry doing what Perry does, and that's go fast down the field.
The view on the parachute in to spark the game, a tied game between Navy and UCF.
You want to try that, don't you?
I do. I actually really would love to skydive one time. It's been an aerial bombardment from Zach Abey. He's got 2 completions. They've gone for 115 yards. 75-yard touchdown to Malcolm Perry. The 40-yard bomb to Tyler Carmona that set up the Abey plunge. And a chipped kick. They want an up man to take it. Hughes tight to the sideline, somehow staying in bounds, and Navy's there on coverage. As they take Hughes out, and we go back to the touchdown for Navy.
Well, here you go right here is Malcolm Perry. He's lined up in the spot. Here are the inside linebackers. We've seen a lot of this and a block. Watch Malcolm Perry goes through that area. The linebacker's expecting a block. He runs right by everybody, and he's wide open. That goes back to that game planning and play calling I talked about to that offensive staff. That was a really nice call.
Layered moves. Perry pays it off. Milton out of the gun. Space on the edge. And a stumble. The burst for Killens. The big play response. 79 yards. He made all the highlight reels with his 87-yard run at Michigan last year, averaging over 8 yards a carry, a number buoyed by that big burst.
That was nothing but excellent blocking up front, and then 100% pure, unadulterated speed by Killens. He got the edge, and then from then on, he might as well have had a baton in his hand and be finishing up the 4x100 in track meet. He was gone.
When we asked Troy Walters, offensive coordinator, what do we expect out of Adrian Killens Jr., he said speed. He is our home run threat. He's got 2 on the ground today from 15 and 79. And Adrian Killens working on all the night moves. As the sun sets, UCF surges ahead. As we check in with she and Stanwick Birch.
Well, guys, Navy coach Ken Niumatalolo was not surprised that UCF coach Scott Frost was the scout team's quarterback this week. He told us in meetings, have you seen him? He's in great shape. The 2 coaches had a memorable run-in at the weight room at a spring meeting in Arizona. Niumatalolo had just finished bench pressing when Frost asked to jump in next. Niumatalolo told us he politely asked if he should remove some of the weights, to which Frost responded, no thank you. Frost then proceeded to add 50 pounds to the bar for his warm-up set. Coach Frost had a chuckle about this and told us he was not surprised to see Niumatalolo working out so early in the morning, but he was quick to point out that he thought Ken was exaggerating.
We appreciate that, Sheehan. I think our producer could take them both. And there's the kick to the end zone as we take a look at the one-play scoring drive for UCF. Lincoln, you'll miss it.
There's Traquan Smith, and right here, watch the block on Williams. Traquan Smith, the big play receiver. There's a big play block. Gets him, stays with him, rides him. That opens up that corner. That's why that play was able to go for as long as they were, and there was no pursuit from the inside out. Smith had sealed it off.
And something Elijah Merchant told us this week, that Smith was so physical in the danceful darting of Mike Martin getting his first varsity action. Rips a run to the 32. The colorful Killens and the long run thanks to Smith springing him free. And there's a lot of talk with UCF that's reminiscent of Navy and the other elite teams we see in America, talking about culture and the buy-in, and that block emblematic of that.
Well, remember, this has been a team. They were 6-7 last year.
They were 0-12 2 years ago.
You know, in the last 18 games, Scott Frost has changed that culture that much to where they mean that much to each other, and they love winning.
Zach Abey loves to run, but trying to stretch it out. Joey Connors and Shaquem Griffin trip him up.
He's getting up kind of slow. He got blasted pretty good.
There's been a lot of cumulative contact for Abey on the game. Athletic training staff summoned out.
They were worried about that.
He's on pace to obliterate the Navy single season record for carries. It's something that Bill Wagner did a story on this week.
Yeah, Griffin got him right in the ear hole. That's the weakest spot, the weakest point in the helmet these days. In fact, the weakest spot in the helmet always.
You don't think targeting there, though?
No, I don't.
And Garrett Lewis into the fray. And Lewis was having an outstanding spring before he got injured. Going into last year, got hurt again in fall camp. He was in front of Abey on the depth chart, and then remember, a couple of injuries befell Navy quarterbacks. Malcolm Perry got plucked from the stand. Zach Abey was suspended. That coulda, shoulda, woulda been Lewis, perhaps. The pitch to Perry. tackle from Griffin, and Jasinski able to lasso him down at the 44.
Nice job by Lewis. He pulls out, and as soon as he pulls out on the fullback, he knows it's a quick pick. This guy hasn't been in a live rep in a while. He goes from that to bang, that ball's out on that quick pick. That was pretty special stuff by Lewis.
Abey paces the sidelines without his helmet.
Without his helmet was a key part of that.
Lewis was on for one play against Memphis last week for Zach Abey. That's his only varsity action entering this run. Abey loading, or excuse me, Lewis loading up. Tip ball incomplete. Mike Hughes knocked it up in the air.
Wow. How about Bonner? Almost circling all the way back. Watch that ball get into the air with Colin, and here comes Bonner. Almost gets there, just about a foot and a half short. Would that have been a spectacular play?
Navy quickly to the line. UCF just getting set. And a look to the sideline.
Be a good time for the UCF for one of those inside backers to completely stuff one of these runs and set up a 3rd and long.
Come on, guard.
Fullback give. Gargiulo tried with second effort to grind. Only gets a couple. USAA, official sponsor of Armed Forces Football. And this Navy club that found a way to forge a tie is not known a lead today. And in the blink of an eye, UCF claimed the advantage back on a one-play, 79-yard drive.
The second team line was in. Now they're back to the starters. Starters in for 3rd and long.
Terrence Laster raced out to the near left and wide out. Carmona is the deep threat. He's on the right far side.
Hill and Pittman, Garrard, they're back in.
Press coverage. Lewis decides to keep. He'll be short. Do you go for it here? As Trey Hill got him after 5.
I will hesitate to yes.
Nodding as he says so. Kendi Montalolo among the most aggressive in America. Navy 5th in the country, 7 of 8 on a 4th down.
And just remember, no Zach Abey. Backup Lewis in the game.
Could this be a hard count?
And how many adjustments does he have in the bag? You know, an experienced quarterback can make the adjustments to the defense in a big spot like this.
The fullback dive, he is short. He's down about a yard shy, Shaquem Griffin. And UCF holds on 4th down. It's Knights football as they only get a couple. Tony Garrard, the big man.
Garrard comes in low. Nice job. Shaquem Griffin, though, he comes in from the outside. He's the one that knifes in and stops that play. Amazing. Brothers in Seattle playing in the NFL. He goes, well, that worked out. Instead of spending time with one brother, he's now spending time with 100 brothers on the team.
Otis Anderson, the run, doesn't have much room. Jarvis Polu, Tyler Sales there. And he is short. Army, by the way, a victory over an American brother. Beat Temple in overtime. Had to go basically length of the field to tie it up with only 1 second left before the end of regulation. Mackenzie Milton has been out for some time. Zach Abey currently being evaluated. He was escorted by athletic trainers off the field after or during Navy's last possession. Off a play fake. Find Davis. Navy gets low. He's down at around the 45 thanks to Sean Williams.
A long ways.
And Milton's numbers, 12 of 18, 189 yards, only 2 interceptions on the season, none today. Off the pump. Milton zips it out, tight corners, and he threads the needle. Spectacular grab by Dredrick Snelson. Brandon Jones draped him in coverage, 23 yards.
How about that throw through the arms of Brandon Jones? Linebacker, nice job dropping, but
Killens stretching to the sideline. Angled out of bounds by Sean Williams. So UCF in the red zone where touchdowns are not automatic. Yes, they are a high-scoring offense, but they only get touchdowns in the red zone 69% of the time entering today. That's lower than you would think for a team that scores 50 points a game.
It's also well below the ideal bogey. I mean, I'd set my standard about 90% personally.
The rush on, tipped incomplete off the hands of the stretching Otis Anderson. Micah Thomas gave some rumbling pressure, but that's a tough look for Navy, Randy, to see Zach Abey out of pads.
Well, again, it's like every other team. When you're in the regular season, it's about the next guy. As soon as that one guy goes down, it's all about number 2. Not much you can do about it. You can dwell on it, but that's usually when you end up losing.
Empty on 3rd and 15. Anderson play fake. Milton, nothing. Denied by Nizer Cromartie. No gain, smothered at the line of scrimmage.
Boy, Cromartie was not having anything of that fake coming across that formation. He kept his eyes on Milton the whole time and just splattered him.
So Cromartie gets it done. Can Matthew Wright connect for UCF? His second field goal miss of the year from 45 yards out came earlier.
Being a right foot kicker from this angle would be a lot easier than the one from the right hash, hooking back the other way.
35-yard try. And Matthew Wright, UCF's all-time most accurate kicker, makes it a 2-score game, puts UCF up 10. Navy's not known to lead in the game, and they don't have their quarterback. It appears that Zach Abey's done. Scott Frost and company, a 2-score advantage in Annapolis. Program record 8th straight affair with 100 yards rushing, entered second leading runner in America. But the shoulder pads are gone. As Malcolm Perry lets that one go into the checkered end zone. And for the latest on Zach Abey, let's check in with Sheehan.
Well, guys, after that injury, Abey went into the locker room to have his head assessed. And as Randy, you mentioned, Navy doesn't take any chances with head injuries. He's returned to the field very dejected. No pads on. He will not be returning into the game. He's made his way through the entire team, everyone offering words of encouragement for him. He'd obviously much rather be on the field.
But I think that is certainly the right move. This Navy program has high concern, as all of those in America, for player safety.
I wish they all had high concern. Navy's, I think, is unusual.
Off the fake, Lewis. Finding a little bit of rhythm here, a little bit of confidence starting to swell. He rips off 8.
And a lot of that happens because up front, you've got Hawk and company getting a piece of everybody. You've got grabbers right now on the defensive side. Remember early in the game, you had linebackers coming into the hole doing some serious business, squaring up on people. Defenders aren't squaring up quite as well right now on the Navy ball carriers.
So Mackenzie Milton and backup Noah Vedral. Their own huddle on the sidelines. Gargiulo's second effort. This will depend upon the spot. It looks like he's probably a hair short.
He's going to be just past the 45-yard line, about a ball past that thing.
Tony Garrod, 6'4", 310, who led UCF's defensive lineman in tackles for loss, and sacks last year. Stopped him short.
You're going to get this first down. Tristan Hill in the middle, that nose tackle. You better deal with him.
Garrett Lewis, 6'1", 200, an inch shorter. About 12 pounds lighter than Zach Abey.
Let's see what happens to these linebackers. Can they block them?
No, sir. Lewis rumbles to midfield. He picks up 5, and Gargiulo has done a great job paving the path.
You don't have to worry about blocking the linebackers when you push the defensive line into their lap.
Getting that push off the ball as Navy.
They're going to go to the fourth quarter.
They're going to let these seconds fade away, down 10. They've not known a lead in the game against a nationally ranked and undefeated UCF squad. The 17-game regular season home win streak in peril for the midshipmen. We're through 3. You're watching college football on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. The backup QB, Garrett Lewis in. Navy down 10. 20th ranked UCF on top of Navy. We shoot to the 4th. A beautiful day. Homecoming at Annapolis. Ideal football conditions. UCF, the top scoring offense in all the land, held to 24 points, but Navy has been slim to 208 on the ground, owns time of possession 27-15 to 17-45. However, the game's only turnover committed by Navy. The Scott Frost unit, undefeated, has not known a deficit today. Navy has its backup quarterback, Garrett Lewis, in, and he's going to throw. Zach Abey on the sidelines, took a shot to the head. Darryl Bonner, the big play, slot back. Nearly to the 20, tripped up by Mike Hughes, 30 yards.
Man, that's the way you step in as a backup quarterback and answer the call. Drop that thing right into Bonner. Bonner's done a beautiful job blocking today, and on that play got wide open.
Mike Martin checks in at fullback. Bonner in motion, toss play to Bonner. Perry gets the low block. And Bonner helped out of bounds. Kyle Gibson aids him out of play. He gets 4.
Yeah, really nice blocking on the outside by Perry. But watch the safety come in from the outside, Gibson. That's slashing inside out and denying any more yards. That could have been a much bigger play by Bonner if he got that corner.
Gibson had originally committed to Vanderbilt and has his team leading 3rd pick of the year in this game. That's the only turnover. Lewis trying to keep, gets led by Evan Martin. Shaquem Griffin trips him up after 6. That'll be good to move the chains.
Remember that split finger on the point of the ball. That ball came loose. Shaquem Griffin put a helmet right on the ball, made that thing bobble in the air.
First down and goal with the ball right on the 10. Carmona tight to the right side. Martin, not a whole lot. A.J. Wooten ruptured that run, finds a way to lean for 3. You're down 10 points. Are you already thinking that you need touchdown or score period on the mind?
Get your score here. Well, what you're thinking is they can't stop us. We're going to get a touchdown. That's what you're thinking. But if you have to settle for a field goal at this point, 13 minutes to go in the 4th quarter, you take your field goal.
Maybe on the sidelines, you saw him with the headset on. Only a few strides back of his head coach, Kendi Amantalona. Changing things up. Play clock grinding down to 5. Perry motions. Lewis. Barciullo! End zone touchdown! He lost 12 pounds to get a little shiftier this year. His only offers out of high school. UConn in the FCS ranks. Decided Navy.
Nice trap block by Evan Martin coming from that right guard position. And Ivan Jasper and the offensive staff, excellent play design. They spread out the defense, had 2 wide receivers out way right. They had numbers in the box, and it results in a touchdown.
Big point after here to make sure it's a field goal game. Mooring drills it.
But again, up front, it's about that offensive line. Evan Martin, Robert Lindsay, Jake Hawk, and all the offensive coaches in the booth. They know how special that play was.
The return for Richie Grant. Oh my goodness, what a hit! That is a special teams bash by Alon Nash.
And that's how you...
As we go downstairs to Sheehan Stanwyck Birch for more on a story that's gripped the entire college football world.
Well, guys, after spending the last 2 months in the hospital awaiting a heart transplant, Navy offensive coordinator Ivan Jasper's son Jaron has spent the last 2 weeks at home getting stronger and gaining weight. Jaron still remains high on the transplant list, and Ivan has told us they are still praying for a miracle. They're obviously so happy to have Jaron home, and Jaron's at the game today cheering on the Mids. Keep fighting, Jaron. We are Jaron strong.
Appreciate that, Sheehan, and certainly our thoughts and prayers with Jaron and the entire family. The run by Adrian Killens. He gets 4. Now, Ivan Jasper has been on the floor every night for the last couple of weeks since Jaron Jasper came home, and what a view he would have of a big stop right there nestled behind the end zone, was here to see the Giant win over Air Force.
That's a dad really happy about sleeping on the floor.
Yeah.
He's ecstatic.
And he does call it a miracle. He knows that a transplant would mean that somebody's life would be lost. Wants to recognize and pay homage to that. Killens. Oh, he's got some shake and some speed. Bursts right past Justin Norton. He picks up 15 yards.
Yeah, that little shake left Norton basically standing still.
Today's first down line brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Milton. Intercepted! Micah Thomas! He's got some blocks. Thomas out of bounds in UCF territory. Only the third interception of the year for Mackenzie Milton.
And Mackenzie Milton, he moves up, steps up to make that throw, and throws it right at Micah Thomas. The O-line gave him pretty good protection.
And what did Mackenzie Milton tell us last night at the team hotel? There were so many near misses of interceptions that he had this year, and this seemed easy for Micah Thomas.
Well, it was one of those things he said he had to clean up, and when you're living a charmed life, you fit the ball in. We've already seen him throw a few of those balls that should have been intercepted, but they somehow went through the arms of the defender.
Zach Abey is on the sidelines as well. Garrett Lewis trying to lead the comeback, and the inside run yields little for Martin. Tony Garrod trips him up after a gain of a yard. Navy's not known to lead in this game. Today's first down line brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. The UCF has only trailed for 21.5 minutes all season.
I was going to say, the Knights aren't real familiar with being behind.
So can Navy take the drive and in the process chew up more of this 8 minutes and draining clock?
That's the bottom line. Doesn't have to be a big play, just methodical.
Lewis trying to protect the football. Griffin pops him, and he holds on clean. He's got the 38. Gain of about 6 there.
Isn't it something here that, you know, Griffin at the beginning of the game was kind of part of the defense. Man, since the end of the second quarter into the third quarter, he just keeps making plays. So there's a reason this guy was the conference defensive player of the year last year.
Carmona tight to the left side. 3rd and 5. Jasinski, who was the high-flying playmaker at the early stage of the game. He's the man who calls the front defensively. Lewis to Bonner. Ball down. And UCF has it. Perfectly timed by Brandon Moore. The freshman corner read that brilliantly.
How about from the jump? Watch Moore come from below. That's just innate ability. You were born with that ability to read a play, to make a play, separates Bonner from the ball, and separates Navy from possession.
2 turnovers, both by the Mids.
Watch Brandon Moore read and fill. This is defense football 101. Receiver has to go inside for the next defender. I mean, ideally, your receiver would be blocking on that cornerback, but Brandon Moore wasn't having any part of anybody getting a piece of him on that play.
That was a pitch by the backup QB, the very prone Bonner. So UCF a chance to ice it. Otis Anderson gets tripped up as we revisit your keys to the game today.
Well, the 3 punts in that first half, one of the reasons Navy only had 7 points. Give that defense for UCF a little bit of credit. Navy had to play clean. No turnovers, no penalties. They've done okay on the penalties, but now 2 turnovers may be what seals their fate here.
They are -1. They do have the interception of Mackenzie Milton. That was UCF's last possession. Anderson, giant seam. Elijah Merchant finally handles him after 26 yards.
Man, this is his offensive line up front for UCF, taking it on their shoulders. Watch these blocks up front. 1-on-1. Cover up the Navy defenders and free the running back into the secondary.
Otis Anderson, who's listed as a wide receiver, plays a lot of running back as well. Young man who was nicknamed Gumby when he had a high right, low left haircut back in the 7th grade. Has some wiggle. And Pokey takes care of him here. Tyler Sales. Sales had a great year so far up front for Navy. He's filled the void some of that end spot.
Yeah, he really has. And that's been, he's kind of filled that solid end position. The guy that has to kind of anchor on the run.
And leads the D lineman in tackles. Empty for UCF. 2nd and 10. Who would have thought UCF would be so close in rushing yards with Navy?
Well, Scott Frost is willing to take what you're going to give him, and today they've given him a chance to run, taking most of the pass away.
Milton steps up. Milton yanked down by Elijah Merchant. He's in the red zone. Picks up 8. It'll be 3rd down.
Well, he's looking a little bit more chipper. That leg's not bothering him quite as much. He looks a little bit like he did in that first half for most of the half.
And that's a little odd considering there's a crisp coolness to the air that's arrived as the sun has disappeared.
Yeah, you'd have a hard time convincing those guys that have been playing a lot that it's very cool. They're plenty warm, trust me.
Milton entered red hot, 2nd most efficient QB in America. Milton finds his target on the 1st down, hooks up with Otis Anderson. Palmore shoves him out of bounds. They'll move the chains. And now it almost feels like with some of the underneath stuff and the run-heavy nature of UCF, they're working the clock against Navy a bit.
Yeah, this is as close as you're going to see. If you watch the play clock, they're not moving as quickly to the line and running plays. They're very aware of the play clock. So as it runs here down below 15, Mackenzie Milton and company, they know they've got plenty of time, and they know there's no reason to be in a hurry right now.
1st down. They get a few, and could we see at some point on the latter stage of this drive the game's first appearance of the tank formation?
It's possible if you get down inside the 5. I'd say if you get a 1st down, you get a 1st down at the 1 or 2, which I think they can get, you may see it then.
Field goal margin. UCF undefeated. Highest scoring offense in America. They average over 50 a game. Held to a relatively slight 24. Motion drags Brandon Jones. Anderson explodes. Touchdown. 10-yard rip for Otis Anderson. His first rushing score of the year.
Yeah, that was no baloney. That was that offensive line just took over on this drive. You get that ball on the turnover, you make the team pay for turning the ball over. And that's exactly what Evans and Johnson and Dickey and Miller and company did. They manned up and took the Navy defense down.
It's a big and vocal fan group that has shown up for UCF, and that's a backbreaker for Navy. 2 timeouts, 3.5 minutes. Extra point nailed.
This play is going to be running right up there at Jaron Strong up in that tunnel. He couldn't like looking at that thing up close and personal.
Welcome back to Annapolis, the scene here at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium, where Navy has won 17 consecutive regular season home games. That's in great peril thanks to this play.
Aaron Evans, Sales, watch him get down and seal Sales off, and the run comes right behind him. Nice job by Aaron Evans, 6'6", 325 pounds. He gets Palmore. Palmore wants to crash on the play, but he's got a 325-pound impediment.
A rather significant one. So Anderson, the freshman, gets his first rushing touchdown. Malcolm Perry, he can break a big play. It's a block from Flay. And Perry steams right over a Knight to the 35 as we take a look at what the Knights have done on the ground. Outrunning the top running team in America, Navy averages 163 rushing yards allowed per game entering this one. Lewis off the fake. Lewis, dangerous pass. Jasinski all over Bonner. So the 34-yard run back gave them decent field position, but coverage outstanding here.
Yeah, nothing for Lewis to do. In fact, he had to try to throw the ball sort of the only place he could, which is inside and away from Bonner, because Jasinski was right there on his left shoulder.
Down 2 scores, armed with a couple of timeouts. Off the fake. Not much there. Only a couple of yards. Sean Burkett took him out, make it 3 to the 38. Ken Niumatalolo's team has not lost a regular season home game since 2014 against Western Kentucky. It's a program record, 17 in a row, tops active. They did lose the American Athletic Conference Championship game at home to Temple last year. Off another fake. Lewis had Carmona open underneath, and he threw it a little late behind it up with Shaquem Griffin there to disrupt. And you're asking a lot of Garrett Lewis in this kind of spot.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of reps you get in a 2-minute style comeback offense, pretty limited for a backup quarterback.
Line change for the defensive front for UCF. Lewis recognizing UCF is late to get settled. Shotgun. Single back. You don't see this from Navy a ton. Gargiulo picks up 1 block. Lewis says run. Ooh, and invites the harm as he helicopters into his shoulder. He'll be short. That's going to drain more clock. Burkett and Jasinski dropped him after 7.
It's going to be night ball.
UCF makes the stand. Pat Jasinski. He began the game denying Zach Abey. He fell into the vortex for a while, and he is ripped right out, popping the backup QB and sealing the game. Navy lost Zach Abey during the course of this game. Just turned it over on downs. Now out of the pistol, Otis Anderson. He was the star of the last drive for UCF. That drive independently basically sealed the game as Navy exhausts its penultimate timeout. There's only 1 left for the midshipmen.
I'm glad you explained that word. I thought it meant next to last there for a second.
Ken Niumatalolo has 4 victories against ranked teams during his time with Navy. But UCF up 2 scores, Navy 1 timeout. Killens gets swung down by DJ Palmore. It would take some significantly uncharacteristic turnovers for Navy to have any kind of a chance. Another timeout. Navy's out of timeouts the rest of the way. Yeah.
Well, we're talking about big times in your life. Hey, this UCF team 6-0 now after this game. They've never done that. Scott Frost about to have a little boy join the family. Their first.
Killens stumbled at the 39, gets only a yard. Lewis, the helmet on, his 4th down has arrived. Now, UCF had been 5-0. That was in its Division II time back in 1988. Scott Frost was asked this week, how much pride do you take in being the first FBS UCF team to go 5-0?
I
and
love
he said,
this answer.
I'll tell you how much pride I take. I didn't know that. We're going to take it 1 game at a time.
Yeah, he's a fantastic guy. He's going to have a world of opportunities this football season with this football team and going forward.
Mac Loudermilk to punt. Gets it off. Fair catch by Craig Scott. Had 5 turnovers against Memphis. Ken Niumatalolo said really a 6 with the roughing the punter penalty that injured a drive. They were still in it against the Tigers. Lewis, a bobble. Carmona finally felled. He's got the first, but 1:21 to go. No timeouts. Down 2 scores. This is tough for Navy.
Yeah. And let's be sure to say, you know, good luck to Coach Frost and his wife. She's due November 1st. He made sure to tell us he had a plane waiting to go just in case he got the call that she was going to be going into labor.
And he said if nature could cooperate, the due date's November 1st, but Monday would be great.
Monday works good
for their
him.
First child,
yes.
A baby boy to arrive.
That's a typical father.
Lewis Perry loses the football. No catch, incomplete. Let's take a look at what UCF has remaining. They're undefeated as it stands. SMU represents a significant possibility of a hurdle.
And that Tech game, from a strength of schedule standpoint, would have meant a lot. But you look down the line, you get down to the Thanksgiving area game against USF, that could be a top 10 matchup.
Could be talking about playing for a New Year's Day Bowl.
Oh, they will be playing for a New Year's Day Bowl that day.
Well, you wonder on the landscape, San Diego State has that big game with Fresno State tonight. Certainly has the non-league victories, but the Boise setback probably means a tighter tightrope for Rocky Long's team.
Yeah, well, San Diego State has one loss. There's a few other teams out there with two. One of them's Fresno State in the Mountain West. You know, the Florida teams, UCF and USF right now, have the clear inside track of that group of five. To me, in my world, they're the ones to look at for that New Year's Day Bowl game.
And some folks think UCF should be ranked higher than USF.
I would agree.
Lewis on 4th down. Tipped, intercepted. Picked off, and the streak back by the red-hot Brandon Moore. He had the fumble, force, and recovery. He gets the interception. That's the icing on the cake. A flag is down, but so is Navy. And UCF getting its sternest test of the year. Had won its first 5 games by 27-plus points.
Yeah, it was putting 50 on everybody. And Navy hung in, got some breaks. UCF made some mistakes. And up until about the last 6 minutes of this football game, Navy had a shot to go ahead.
Let's take a look.
That's a tip ball. Excellent job of, what was that, getting your hands up there and causing that ball to get up into the air.
What a game by the freshman Brandon Moore. Some outstanding instinctive plays. Now the victory formation for UCF, which for the first time in program history begins a season 6-0, make it 4-0 in the American Athletic Conference.
Now this is a very talented football team. If you haven't really seen much of them, you just watch the rest of this season. Scott Frost, these guys are buying in. They believe what he's talking about, and this is going to be a really good team by the end of the season.
Ken Niumatalolo said that Scott Frost's unit was one of the best to ever come to Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium, and it's the first to beat Navy in a regular season game here since 2014. Snaps a nation's best 17-game win streak in regular season home games. And Scott Frost inherited a team that went 0-12. He took them to a bowl game last year. He has bigger visions this year.
A lot of reverence here too from UCF to Navy. As far as, you know, they're going to stay around for the alma mater. They've never been here before. Here's what this game leaves us with. The West, Memphis clearly the leader now.
Now they have the tiebreak with Navy, plus now an extra loss for the midshipmen, while UCF and USF seem to be on a collision course for that Thanksgiving matchup. Sheehan Stanwyck Birch is downstairs with the victorious head coach, UCF's Scott Frost.
Thanks, John. Coach, 6-0 in the season, but Navy gave you a test. What was the key to winning?
I think our guys just persevered. We didn't play as well as we could play. I give a ton of credit for that to Navy. They confused us, and we made mistakes when we couldn't because we knew that they'd get back into the game, and that's what happened. We're lucky to get out here with a win. I got a ton of respect for them.
You got a special team this year, undefeated. What's so different about this team?
I think just the way they stick together and fight together. This is as tight-knit group as I've been around, and we need it in games like this because they gave us everything we could handle. Thank you so much for your time. Good luck with the birth of your son. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, Sheehan. UCF 6-0, besting Navy 31-21. For the Hall of Famer, Randy Cross, Sheehan Stanwyck Birch downstairs, and our entire outstanding crew, I'm John Sadak. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. So long from Annapolis. We take you back to our New York studios. Brent Stover, Houston Nutt, and Christian Fourier.